Could get a picture of that.
Yeah, but it's gone long enough so we can point out the features of it.
Sugars? No, I don't.
First the word for the meal anyway after,
It's not a.
you know,
You saw it when you came first.
maps, there was a good way going on in the burial and
I'm sure you have
absolutely starving when they got here.
Was it?
And I'll show you what it was baked in.
Is that what you were making? Remember the bread you?
No, I wasn't making it on that when you were here.
No,
On
the
the oven.
means when you came first.
Yeah, but what kind of bread were you making?
I made that white soda bread. I suppose I made brown to it like that,
Yeah.
but I used to make brown occasionally.
That's right.
The boys weren't too keen on the brown, so I used to make brown myself. Now I used to bake for the anglers, well, not always, down in Duffy's, but if she were away and I thought she was getting short for the morning, I'd make a cake, you know. And when you put the homemade bread on the table for them, they never look at white loaf. Yes, I said the bread you don't be cutting up because they won't have it if you have soda bread. Oh, there was all homemade stuff down there.
This is what she baked.
I don't have any meals, you know, still in it.
Oh.
You know, you just
Because I had the old pot.
bed in it.
Yeah,
the one that had
With the
the
three legs.
hole in the bottom, yeah, the three legs.
Some outside.
I just did. I just did.
And you put the coal, the turf
Here for breakfast.
coals underneath, and then you put the rest of them on the lid.
Oh.
And
And the chickens that I had cooked
as
were
it's-
cooked on that fire.
you know, to turn the temperature down, all you do is take the coals off the top, you know. So that's why, you know, a tongs is a, in Ireland, a country, it's a housewife's gift to tongs, is, you know, but keep lifting the coals off them. I mean, Mary Cat was great at it. The one ear's broken off, that one. Oh no, it isn't. And then she used to roast in it as well. You know, there was no oven, that's how Mary Cat did all the roasts and everything.
And everything came out golden brown.
She had more than this one, but this one happens to have survived. I don't know how it has, but it
Because
has.
I put it down in the bedroom.
So we've kept it.
Oh, yeah.
Don't mean holy water
No,
pot.
that's where it is.
And you know how long I was that, Bernie?
No. Yeah.
You came to Ireland here, didn't
Now
you?
it's come safe.
Yeah, no, that's.
You just gotta take
And then we've got the other lamp. That's in the dairy, isn't it, Mary Kate? The one that we used to
Here,
have in the
Martin,
room.
will it hold there, though, anything?
Yeah?
Good. I just want to get a picture
Well,
of
I
it.
say a prayer, but it won't fall.
I'm getting quite a bit of glare from that.
Is it a bit dark with the curtain?
I've got the other lamp as well, that we used to have if guests came. It's an oil lamp, but it's very nice. I've got that in the dairy.
3 feet, I guess.
Yeah, and checked at the hospital. Yes. But the weather driving on these roads.
Yeah.
I could only meet myself an accident in the middle of the day now.
Yeah.
And she goes to the surgery. It was awful. Not forget you know. I was away actually when they were trying to get here and I wasn't here. I was up in this woman I got to go on the tour I was away to. And
So Bessie Cox seems to be very concerned about your health.
yeah, well, I'm not too bad in the helpline, but you see here lately, I got this kind of a, not ill, no headache, no nothing, but I got a feeling, terrible feeling, you know, and I had to ring for Bessie, and Bessie came down and she said, we'll ring the doctor. Well, it happened he wasn't on, he doesn't be on duty on a Saturday, but he has a man in his place, a doctor in his place, he's Dr. Donnelly, I think. And he came out, and he was questioning me and all the rest of it, and he could find nothing wrong. And that was all right. But he said, "You're better stay in bed." So I was on the bed all right. Then when I said, when the doctor goes, I'll get up for a bit. And I went to get up. Betty was there with me. Oh, I said, "Betty, you'll have to go back." The feeling, I can't explain it.
No.
You know. Oh, she says, "We'll send for your own doctor." So Dr. Hardyman came. Now Dr. Hardyman knows me inside out, and he said, he didn't say, and he said, "Well, you have a virus." Well, we meant, I know a virus. That, well, I have no cold, I thought, but they said you can have virus otherwise, you know. So he gave me nothing, and he said to rest. I stayed in bed the rest of that day, but the next day I got up. I was alone, you know. And from that, the net never came back since, thank the Lord. But the feeling, just the feeling.
Yeah.
No illness whatsoever.
No.
No headache, no nothing. Well, since I became alone, Dr. Hardiman has me on tablets for, well, I was suffering from tension.
Oh.
You know, I get up in the morning, go down there and go for the doctor. He'd find nothing wrong with me. And you know, check the road one someplace. Maybe they're going to take you someplace. And still, oh, they had the breakfast. I think I had the breakfast, so. But I had another lady helping me, and I said, "Did Sonny have anything to eat?" And she, you know, she said, "Yes, I made tea for him after getting up or coming in from milking cows, milking the cows." That was all right, nice went on grand, and they came in and they were up there in the room, and Jerry said Jerry himself had tea above in the room. And the last thing I said to him, I said to him, "We'll have some of this potato salad or something." And I came down, and the girl I had here to another one was helping me. And she said, "Sonny got ill." And I didn't take any light of it, only that something he eat or something, and he wasn't in the habit of that. And I brought him down to the room, and after I knew well, his face dropped. It was a blood hemorrhage. His face got black in his hands. Oh. Sent for the doctor, and he came out and he gave me a tablet first. And he said, "Take him in." He was outside the door. Oh, he went down to the room, down and laid him in the bed. And he said, "He's gone now." I didn't know where I was or what had happened.
So it was a stroke. He actually had a stroke?
Was, you see the blood and the brain.
Yeah.
And that evening then, Michael and Marie arrived. They were at the funeral. Wasn't that a terrible? And they were not guest house up. When you go down to Cox, they continued up on the left hand side, there was a guest house where they stayed year after any time they came. Oh, they changed then. Marie wrote to me and she said, "You know, this year we're going to Duffy's."
Very special.
It is. Beautiful.
Okay, so I'll just shoot my desk. And then
We said, well, she wanted to explain that we don't think that was someone knows. We want to make sure we're buying exactly the right stuff.
She kind of must think that.
Any colleague can make it. But if you bring it-
Any colleague can make you with this.
With this.
Is that what he said?
That's what she said.
Oh, that's what she said.
Listen, here's some wine just to add
Oh,
to your,
lovely, can we do another?
just to add to your supply. So, so that's the real McCoy, that is.
Yeah.
John Powell.
John Powell. That's what Grandad is.
Oh, yeah.
See, now I had that cooker as well done. I mean, it's not much, but it's better than far better than it was.
She did only
No, Sonny, no, one of my brothers did this. Anthony did that. But Sonny built this on. He had done what it was like a little old shed thing with your grandmother. There was a fire up the corner here. This wasn't here, of course, a fire up the corner. And she'd boil for the pigs. And they'd feed the pigs and kill the pigs, and that was their meat then for the whole year, because they had boiled bacon and they had fried rashers bacon. You know, and they made their own black pudding with the blood from the pig, and you know the intestines of the pig.
Yeah.
I've seen Grandad boiling them and turning them on a stick, and then he'd fill it with the
Sausage.
yeah. You know, and
Incredible.
this
So
was
now-
an old dirt floor. And
So now the gas, does that come in tanks?
yeah, here it is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see, okay.
Yeah. But she did have an old thing here, and I said to her, why don't you buy a new one? So I put some money towards it.
Do you have an oil tank, like a gas tank outside, or is
No,
it?
no, you buy it in this village. Come and open it for you and show you the cows.
Okay, what happened there now?
The,
Cows were
yeah,
there?
the cows were into each stall, and the chains were put around the necks. And then you'd have a stool and you just milk the animals. They used to come in this way from grazing, in this
I
way.
see, okay.
And this door here was purely to take all the manure out. And
Oh yeah.
there were 6 cows in here. Look, there
So
were
how,
1,
so,
2, 6 stalls.
so how far back would this section of the building?
Oh, this is the
Gates.
original. Only it's been plastered. This is the original cow house.
Ah, that's that right there.
Yeah.
So I remember being told the barn was part of the house, and I couldn't quite imagine.
Yeah, this is it in the bedroom. That bedroom you've been in.
Yep.
You know, where you rent that. That's the other side of this wall.
Yeah.
And Sonny had water then. He put water in here.
Oh yeah.
Well, would the cattle be kept in over the winter, or did they have to
Yes,
stay
yes.
inside?
Yeah,
Or
and then
be
he'd
part of
feed
it?
them with hay in the winter.
But would there be a maximum of 6?
There were 6. Yeah, it was that shape. That's what a piece of turf looked like. A diamond.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, is that right?
Daniel.
What happened to him?
Well,
Did you say
did
Dublin?
write-
Is
he
he in
used to-
Dublin?
well, we know it happened to Dominic. I mean, you know your Uncle Dominic.
Yeah.
Daniel used to write here, hadn't he, Mary Kate?
Yeah, now and again it's I was getting a lot of money with the oil wells, over oil wells. Getting money in stuff in oil wells.
And where would this be?
This was the States, but what part, Phil, I don't know.
I have in my mind that we used to think that one of the brothers lived in Orange, New Jersey.
You could be
But,
right.
but that was Martin.
That was Martin?
Oh,
Yeah, you're right there, Bernie, it was Martin.
So,
Okay.
Bernie, didn't you meet Jane Hanley?
I did, yes. I stayed at the house.
Yeah, wasn't she a fair strong girl then? or
Well, that
was
was
she
your
was.
Uncle Martin's daughter.
daughter,
Oh, yeah, right.
Well, I stayed when I was in Chicago for
Right.
3 weeks.
And Jack was there.
Oh, Jack? And Jack would write me a few lines if anything happened over wherever she is.
Yeah.
And he knows well because I asked Mary. Mary was here last summer.
Anyone
Jack's
want
sister.
like another cup of coffee?
Her husband was
No,
killed.
I mean,
No, that's good.
You haven't been
Okay,
to see
now,
the cow
Bridget-
house, have you, about
Bridget-
that's right.
Is-
She, interesting.
I've just come back.
Is
from the-
Mrs.
Gila.
Oh, you want to
Now,
rest?
in America,
No, I was up at the
but
pasture,
I'm interested in
the
it
pasture.
from Michael or to
We'll
Michael
get Doreen to show you the cow shop. She's open up.
G-I-L-L-E-N spell it. But here they spell it
No, that's fine, whatever you're-
G-W-E-N.
You left it open, didn't you?
G
Gillen, the
double E
Dylan.
N-E-N.
N A N. Geenan. Like always said it was Geenan.
No, Gillen
In-
and Gielan.
Yes, in New Jersey,
G-W-E-L-A-N.
G-I-L-L-E-N.
But in the U.S. they spell it.
G-I-L-L-E-N.
Okay, that's it. Yeah. Okay, good. And pronounce it Gillen. Okay, Mary is Mary Sullivan.
Yes.
She went to U.S.
I'm not too sure she's in the US anyway. And
What?
here,
Then our father, and then Kate died in this
in
house
this, he
at
did
the age of 21
21, I think.
of TB. Now, you see, it's one thing for the men to be going to U.S., but now how would Bridget have come to go?
Well, I'll tell you about her. You see, she was married up the road here to her neighbour,
Oh, I see.
Johnny Gillen.
Okay.
She was married to, and Michael would make a laugh, because he said, yeah, when you come back first, you're right, never let me know don't come on around. And I had a timber fire down, I remember, and this car came in the street, and I went to the door, and he popped out of the car and he said, do you think you know me? Well, I said, if you're not one of the Geelans, I don't know you. It was Michael, and Michael was there, so they came every 2 years after. And he said, then after when he came in, he said, I was looking for the stalks of the potatoes to be waving back and over in the fields, and I don't see any. You know, that was the truth in the early days, that they'd be having stalks would grow that big than potatoes. And there was an old woman lived in it, and a sister of Johnny's lived on with them. They used to call her Mother Sadie. And he'd make you laugh. And he says, the old woman then, there was an old woman as well. Who was she now? She was Johnny's mother or something. And he said, when she got sick one time, he said, and I was ran out to go to the post office to get her pension for fear she died. You know, that she never got into the post office before she died. Because it was supposed, you see, well, like that the person who died, they'd get none. Well, if they died on the Friday morning, or if they died Thursday night gone past 12 o'clock, which was proven, they'd get the pension still on Friday. But when they died on Friday, they'd still get that pension, you see. Well, they'd be entitled to it, they'd have the week gone by, you know what I mean? It was terrible. The few shillings it was only then, you know.
Yeah.
And even that is bigger now, well, it still sounds only a few shillings, because things have gone so dear, you know.
Yeah.
You can get so little for money today.
Yeah. So Bridget married here,
Yes,
and then went
Bridget
to...
married Johnny Gillan, and they sold the place,
Yeah,
and the children were only small.
yeah.
Michael, Patrick, Frank, Joe, Judy, what's another one? 3 boys, I think, anyway, and Mariella, an only girl. And he was telling me here, he said, no, we didn't.
But even, you know, just what Phil's going through there is that we get so confused with, it makes more sense than what I've heard in the last hour than all the rest of it.
Now let's start off. John,
The fact that Dad's,
married.
Now, weren't you like him?
well, it,
Can't you see the resemblance?
somewhat, yeah. I can see why people,
Hold
He
a
was
picture.
21.
Hold a picture of him.
I can see why people would think that,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, that's,
Because he's another good-looking guy.
He was really good looking.
so that's John P.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when he was 21.
That's great.
no, it's,
And his sense of humour, he was so jolly and so happy. Nothing worried him. Nothing.
so to pin a year on this, would this be in the 40s, or let's see,
What will be after
It'd
that?
be,
Yeah, no.
it'd be about 1940. Because I was 10 in 1940 when my grandmother died. And he was, you know,
right.
yourself and Beverly, do you remember that was the first time I met you?
Yeah, right.
And as you were coming down, I said to Ellen, doesn't he look just like John P?
So now this is Bridget's daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. So how many years ago was that picture being taken? Long time ago?
No, about 1968.
Unless it, maybe in Port Alberni.
Right.
His mum was still in.
I think that's about the others you've seen. I gave them all to me.
You know, we hear all the names and I finally get them all So your father's name is?
He was well for a while, I think.
Uh-huh.
And so that, so he died in January of 1960.
Yeah.
Uncle John.
Yeah.
And your mother, what year did she die?
She died in 1940.
Hmm.
30th of September 1940.
Here in the house at the hospital.
No, here. The both of them died at home.
Oh,
And did she?
She was lingering on, and
Oh, she was.
the doctor did tell me. She was a lady doctor. She said that she had a tumour near the heart.
oh.
Well, of course, our family's got.
Your Uncle Dominic was great at her first.
Hmm?
Your Uncle Dominic was in a shop in Strokestown. And she had a sister living near Strokestown, and they changed down to Carrigan, bought that place in Carrigan.
Oh.
And he got in with her. So it was thought he was going to marry her. They were going to be married.
Oh.
She was on a holiday from America. I think she went back at that stage.
Oh.
I'm not too sure about that now. And the next thing she got in with John. And
Oh, yeah. So she'd actually been to America.
oh yes, she was in America. She was the youngest of her family.
She's an American.
Mm. Well, no, she's not. Well,
She's born here.
she was born in Mayo.
Oh, yeah.
So Uncle Dominic was dating her, and then.
Yes, and then she got in here.
Isn't that interesting?
And she only came on a holiday at the time, I believe.
From the States.
Mm.
Isn't that crazy?
But they were happier marriages. I mean, we were just sitting here today. You never heard of breaking up once in those days.
Rita and Barry live in Dudley.
Oh, Dudley, okay. Thomas married Monica and lived in England. Sean married Joyce, live in England. Owen married Helen, live in England. Kathleen is
A widow. She married Arthur Abel. It's a Jewish name, Abel. But he died 3 years last February.
Abel. And has been a widow for 2 years and lives in Boyle. Irene married Michael Phipps.
Phipps. F-P-H-I-P-P.
Oh, double P. Phipps. Okay.
And she lives in the Isle of Man.
Teresa married Donald Carl, lives in Ireland. Anthony married Leslie, lives in Scotland. Una married Peter Daly, live in Devon.
And she's got an Eleanor. One of her children is called Eleanor.
And then the
We've
proposal.
certainly got our money's worth.
She looked at He's our neighbour down on the road there.
You know, when Bernard's coming away.
No, that's fine. You just I'll find a spot. I'm just kind of getting the lay of the land here.
But where you're standing, all this plot from there, right the way over to about there, it belongs to the Hanley.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I can't be buried here because
Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. Eternal rest granted to them, O Lord. May they rest in peace. And may their souls, and the souls of all the faithful departed to the mercy of God, rest in peace.
Well, she was, eh? So who would she be? Who would she be here to see? Jones?
Well, the family.
That was it.
going to be able to recall it, Phil, or
There's enough of a minute to walk on
because it's certainly pretty thorough, isn't it?
I've got Michael
Oh,
and
yes,
Helen
oh, yeah.
and all of the
Very nice. He enjoyed his visit to Victoria.
all of the children.
Stayed with Lloyd and Claire.
Try not to lose this one.
Yeah.
I don't lose another trip in.
It's interesting to see that Dad never ever
Take a big gulp.
made reference to his sister. Was his twin.
This is the second event. It's gone one of
I mean, and they, they've only kind of discovered
You know what I
her
mean?
recently themselves.
the daughter
Yeah.
of the dinner.
See, Eleanor is dead against that. She just doesn't.
Oh, is that right?
She doesn't agree with it. So I guess it's a matter of getting the story straight, isn't it? You know.
No. I didn't say that to Captain, but she said, maybe you'd like it fry. But I did ask him.
Yeah.
No way would he have to fry. So they called me for tea. So that was 4 or 5 years. But I got the tea anyway, and all of them dropped out back the cups and put them away and washed them and all that. And Kathleen was very nice. Kathleen Gibbons was her name. So I said, Peggy Joe said to me, she said something about tea, and so I said, go ahead, go away. I said, I'll be able to manage that. The package was behind my back and he pays for the tea. It was 4 or 5 years anyway. The tea that time wasn't, you know, it was 5 shillings or something for tea. And it would be a good tea at that.
Do you realise how many years ago that was? Your memory is quite fantastic.
It was 26 years ago. 1964.
That's right.
And 1964,
I can't remember what I did yesterday. To you, 26 years is clear as a bell.
Now your hearing is very good. Your hearing and your eyesight is very good, eh?
yes. No loss of me here. No way.
And your eyesight is good?
It's fairly good. Like if you're... Well, I think it was last February. I got a nurse to attend at a clinic in Rooskip. Well, it's not a clinic, it's a hall. Where they were having an examination for glaucoma. And Kathleen Gertie got it. We don't know how it happened to be the only two on the road. So I said to Kathleen, like, which had, you often got into a mess that you had to go someplace that day and this carry on. And I was saying to Kathleen, well, I have to go up to Lizzie's, I'm going away on a tour. And I don't know how I'm going to manage the Rooski business, but I said I'll get someone to take me back down to Rooski. I go up to Lizzie's and tell her I knew she'd have a way out. Well, she says, had you a letter for her? I said, I have. She said, you're going to Strokestown. Oh, I said, that would be great, because Strokestown was beside me. I went into Strokestown and I got the test for the glaucoma, and there wasn't too many minutes going through it either. But there was a man before me and it took him so long to... But his eyesight mustn't be good, you see, that's the... Now I got a form to fill for just reading glasses. Never got an answer since. So I was telling one nurse that came in, I forgot her name.
Doesn't show the year though, does it?
Towards you, it's the
Up on the top of the
Oh, it's
page.
on the top of it. Okay, now go right across. So, and these are the godparents. No, or no, they're the parents right there.
No, they're the godparents.
Oh, they're the godparents.
Yeah.
Okay.
Up on the top of the page here is the year.
Whereabouts?
Up there.
There, yeah.
Okay, 18.
If you like, if you want to, well, there's no need.
Yep. My voice is shot, so.
So,
That's what I think anyway.
yeah.
We visited your husband's grave today and said a prayer.
Oh, yeah, see the cemetery.
We got the cemetery, yeah. Yep, we saw the Hanley.
Yes, the only way was here, she was still there on her bed.
Yeah. So we saw the graves, which is important for us, you see, to see all these.
He's going to take a picture.
Huh?
And how was your journey anyway so far?
Oh, terrific. Just getting, got everything recorded on film. We're just getting a big hill, so you're just in time to get your picture taken.
The only trouble is you didn't do it 23 years ago. I was 23 young.
We'll all talk at one time.
Are we supposed to be...
You're supposed to look natural.
We're closing off here. So,
That's okay. That's okay.
So,
Morning, how are you?
Sure, sure.
Fishing rods today.
You should be.
Out of the Canadian lake.
You might take your hand off.
No, I'd have given you mine if it was working, but the tank, I went cutting silage
Yeah.
with it. I don't know if you know these big pits of silage, and in place of using the hand tool,
Right.
you know, it's too hard on the heart.
Yeah, exactly.
Eventually, and I went using this, and it worked grand all the season. And when the season was over, we went to cut timber with it, and it was leaking. The oil tank. You see, you fill it with oil. You know the
The mixture.
Well, that's it in the silage. It's an aluminium tank, and the tank deteriorated with the acid.
Right. Right.
So
Okay. Well, that's a good good use for a chainsaw anyway. And
it is, but there should, you know, there's no delay in doing it with it. But why weren't the tanks made in some other material?
That's right.
Like that?
Yeah.
That could.
Yeah, tin or something that would stand up.
Yeah. Aluminium is very poor, and it's very hard to get it welded.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, with the right. Very few know how to do it. Now, Jim knows a fella who does, and Jim, I don't know if you have met Jim at all, my son. He's gone off there. He's a fitter.
Yeah.
So he works in an engineering, at precision engineering.
Right.
And he's a turner, actually, or whatever you like to call it.
Yeah. A machinist.
A machinist.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's fellas in the place. It's a big engineering place who can weld, you know, they do it.
Right.
Worked them before.
Oh yeah.
When you're getting out, if there's any danger, when you're finishing down, if there's any danger of it closing, you want to just keep the point of your...
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, in fact, Dom here worked in the logging business in his young days. He was a...
There's no point tonight.
Oh no. come back and see you again.
The other nieces are, but they're more, you know, they're more tied up with their own plans.
Yeah,
They're more to
yeah.
themselves, you know.
I've
Yeah.
taken a picture of you.
Would you like to go out for the day, Martha? Will I send you off the test?
Is running or not?
Except that when you talk,
What are we going to do about sound?
yeah, exactly. Okay. Okay.
Purple.
Okay, Martin.
Huh?
You're in the shadow.
That isn't such a bad thing.
That's good. I think we need a Guinness.
Oh, do you know what? They've gone to mass. They've gone to
Did you just see her before she was placed? Before and after?
Yeah, she stayed with us a week before,
Oh.
and then she stayed with us a week. Well, maybe she stayed with us a fortnight.
He got the headache, hasn't he? Yeah. Any ambitions do you have?
Arriving on your doorstep.
I really love horse riding.
I mean,
Oh,
don't
really?
you have to get my own rabbits or that?
It might be nice to be a cowboy.
They've had a disagreement with the
Cowboy?
on the,
Not a cowboy.
they're leaving for 4 hours from the back hour.
Will you ride me a cowboy? Well, wait, I know why. I know why.
For a jumper. So what's his name? What?
Oh, you silly kid. Should have broke.
Boy, oh boy. He wasn't supposed to break it, was he? Are you mad at your kitten? Huh?
What series is
So what's your kitten's name? Eh?
Stuffy?
Stuffy? And your name is Martha?
Yeah.
Your name is Martha. Is your name Martha Cops? Oh, terrific. And how old are you, Martha?
Look.
What's that?
What?
Oh, boy. Oh,
Doesn't know words. Now, Pussy, you got sleep. It's not now, because I'm taking it off. Should I tape it possible?
oh, is that right?
You want to come sleep with me, too? You're silly kitten. It's not your tape, it's on. Go and piss off, kitten.
Going what?
Piss off.
Oh, is that right, eh?
A girl.
That's a girl kitten. That's a girl kitten?
Girl.
Okay. So where did you get the pretty dress?
It's not a dress.
Isn't it?
It's a skirt and blouse.
Oh, I see, okay. It looked like a combination.
Yeah.
So where did you get it? For Christmas? No, you didn't get it.
Santa's going to bring me a bicycle next week.
Is that right?
I was at birthday today.
You're at a birthday today?
Yeah, and the poo. And Kitty didn't come. Kitty didn't want to come. And he said, let me come. Didn't ya?
Did the kitten cry?
Yeah, he cried.
Boy, oh boy. And so do you know what you're going on film? Do you know that?
Yeah.
And have you ever seen yourself on film?
I started school.
You did, eh?
I started school Wednesday.
Take it home.
Well, I have a cat at home now. She'd be able to live on it.
I've told you you can have a piece of toast when you get back.
And you stop.
You should have brought the cat with you in the bag.
There's an idea.
It's not good for you today, it's no loss on her.
Lost his shirt, you see. So he got a hold of the priest and said, you told me that the secret of success was to light a candle. Well, he says, what kind of candle did you light? Oh, he says, I lit those little candles. Oh, for God's sake, he says, those are for the dog races.
I know, just speed up to catch up with you.
So, what are you doing open that door?
Yeah.
Okay. That might be a little cooler outside.
Yeah,
and,
And so I can say in the name of my brothers, it is good to be here. It is good to be here, first of all, for myself, I'm the pastor of St. Patrick's Parish in Victoria. From my brother Bernie, who's the pastor of Queen of Peace Parish in Victoria. From my brother Martin, who's a contractor by trade. And my brother Dominic is a developer. We're here because this place is part of our story. You see, we only have one story, each of us. And our story is about our family. And where our family comes from, that is the root of our story. Our father, Donald Patrick, was born here, was baptized in this church, and at the age of 16 left for America. And for us today, it's almost inconceivable how young people of that age could have packed their bags and went off across an ocean, never to return. We have returned because it's important for us. It's important for us to know our family. We are particularly appreciative of Mary Kate, who from time immemorial, it seems, was the one who always kept in touch with our family. We always remember from the youngest years the letters from Mary Kate. From Josephine, also our cousin, Sonny and John P., that both Bernie and I had a chance to meet. I was first here in 1964. I was the first of the family. I was a student at that time in Belgium. And I picked up the phone and I sent a wire. I think I sent a wire saying, I'm coming to visit. Then Father Bernie came with our mother. And for him and for her, this was a most impressive experience to see the place where our father was born. Our father died as a very young man. And so our mother was left with 9 children, the youngest, our youngest sister at that time being merely an infant. Since that time, our sister Eleanor, our oldest sister, has visited. Our brother Lloyd has visited. Now Martin and Dominic. And our nieces, 3 of our nieces have had a chance to come to visit. And so we acknowledge then in a very special way Doreen Byrne, who has been for us as a family very much a contact person that has facilitated our visiting. We want to thank particularly James and Betty Cox for their hospitality and for their family, who have been most gracious. You see, our father, from our tenderest years, told us the stories. I'm sure like most children growing up, we never knew how much was truth and how much was blarney. But of course, as you get a little older, you realize that within those stories, of course, there's always the story of your family, the story of our beginnings. And when he came to America, he brought with him his culture, his Irish culture. But he brought also his faith. And today, as we heard that gospel about the seed being sown, I think it is very important, particularly for the children here at Mass today, to know that as our father, many young men and young women left this country to go to many parts of the world, and they brought with them their faith. And they brought a faith that was to be so much a part of the church of so many parts of the world. You see, our part of the world heard the faith for the first time 150 years ago. Now that's not very long in terms of history. And it was people like our father and other Irish who made their way around the world, brought with them their faith. They were always faithful to their faith as they were to their culture. And so today, as we hear that gospel story, we hear it then in very practical terms, that they left, but they never left. They left and they brought with them the most precious gift they had, their Catholicity. And they raised their families in very sound and very clear understandings of who they were, and that they were to be always faithful to their faith. And so today, as we offer this Holy Mass, besides the special intentions of the Mass, we think, of course, of our family, because here in this very church, to be offering Holy Mass, for us it is important that we remember our father and our mother. That we pray in a very special way for the repose of the soul of our brother. Our brother who had the opportunity of visiting here, who was the doctor of the family, died just 2 years ago. Left a wife and 5 children. His wife, Claire, lives in Nanaimo, which is on Vancouver Island, which is the most westerly part of Canada. So when you get your atlas out and you look at Canada, the island that is off the west coast is Vancouver Island. That's where Victoria is. So he left a wife and 5 children, 2 daughters, 3 sons. So as we offer this Holy Mass today, we remember him in a very special way. We had another brother, Gilbert, who died as an infant, but we never really knew him. But for us, of course, the first one of our generation to die is our brother Lloyd. We pray for all of the family. We pray for you. We thank in a very special way Father Sean, who was so gracious in allowing us to say Holy Mass today. And we thank you, because in coming back, we come back to discover who we are. And for everyone, it's very important to know who you are.
Well, make us go in love together with John Paul, our Pope, our Bishop, and all the clergy.
Remember our brothers and sisters who have gone to the rest of the hope of rising again. Bring them and all that departed into the light of the presence. Have mercy on us all. Make us worthy to share eternal life. With Mary, the Virgin Mother of God, with the apostles and with all the saints.
Mary Kate, would that silver font be old? Would that be the original font that Dad was have signed in?
Well, I don't know.
No. Sounds good.
Well, it's good to see you. It's good to see you, Mike.
Well, you were gallivanting when we dropped by the house.
It's
good to see you. When did we arrive here? Wednesday.
Thursday
night.
We're gonna leave tomorrow.
We get the tickets, of course, so we can get it back.
They have very high taxes here.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what the income tax is. I never inquired about it. And I'm never going to.
So is it...
Anyway, with the handout I get from Victoria, I mean, I wrote and told Remy that it was a beggarly handout.
Our body. So, if you don't intend to receive the sacrament, put up your hand as the priest approaches you as they make their way now to where you're seated. And then give him your Christian name.
As capital for the very first time, and that in itself is inauguration or dedication.
The field with the row of silage bags. See the black?
Watch the slippery ones, Phil.
That's correct, you were right there.
But Teresa said, how is the connection, where did the John Hanley come from?
I know she was related to somebody called Gosh.
Okay, anytime you want to start.
Today, Sunday, July the 15th, began with a very hearty breakfast at the usual time, Martin having woken us all up at 8:15. After breakfast, we talked over what we should talk about as part of the sermon, and came up with an idea that might be expressed this way, that we have come in order to discover who we are and how important it is that we are able to touch our roots, and that had particular significance for us to be able to have the Mass, because we also want to remember in a very special way Dad, Mum, but also in a particular way Lloyd, because of the significance of he being the second generation to die. So we seem to cover all those bases reasonably well. It was good of Father Sean Burns. He decided to celebrate, so I was the chief celebrant. Bernie celebrated with. We committed ourselves to go to Knock. So as soon as we were able, which was then about, let's see, the 11 o'clock Mass was over about 22.
About 2 o'clock.
So it was around 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
We set off for Knock, which was to be about an hour trip. Well, that's a bit Irish. I think it was closer to about an hour and a quarter, an hour and a half trip.
Maybe you can explain what Knock is all about.
And Knock is one of the Marian shrines of the world. Our Lady appeared in Knock during the troubled times in Ireland, so that's about 1877, is it?
79.
79.
It's the national shrine.
It's now, for Ireland, it's the national shrine of Our Lady. The reason it was particularly important to go was that we had met Teresa, and she was called a Hanley. She works with the sick, and she had particularly insisted that we should go to the shrine because they were blessing one of the most recent developments there, which is a chapel for confessions, so they could have confessions around the clock. So off we went to knock. It's a bit of a problem to find your way because, of course, there's no signs of any consequence in Ireland. But here, at the very point we were a bit confused, we stopped. There was a fellow standing on the side of the road and asked him the way, and he said, would you have room for me? So we took him along here. He was going to knock, and he's what they call a steward, and that's men who commit themselves to go once a week or whatever it is,
once a month.
Once a month. And they spend the whole day at knock looking after the sick. So the counterpart of that, of course, is these handmaidens, who are the women. So Teresa, who is Doreen's younger sister, we knew she was there, so we had just made our way towards the chapel that was about to be blessed when Dominic was mentioning, as we were kind of discussing, who these women were that were all dressed like nurses, and came to the conclusion maybe these were these handmaidens. And I looked up, and I was absolutely sure that the woman standing right in front of us, within 10 feet of us, was Teresa Carroll. And I went over, and of course, I'd got her profile, that's why I was quite sure it was her. And sure enough, here she was. She was delighted to see us, and I think quite delighted, of course, that we were able to see her in her outfit. They wear it would be kind of like an old-fashioned nurse's outfit with their cap and a long white gown. And they're very busy, obviously, with the sick, helping the sick around the shrine. We were there for the beginning of the Mass, which was the Mass of dedication of this new chapel for confessions. We were able to stay until the end of the sermon. Then we realized the time was running short, so we wanted to see the museum, which is quite a striking thing. I suppose for me, the most interesting was to be reading a letter.
First of all, Phil, just to explain, the museum is really of Irish folklore or Irish history, isn't it?
The whole of Irish history centering around Knock. So it begins with the troubled times in Ireland. In fact, it begins with the whole history of Ireland and how the apparition happened within that context of the most tragic moment in Irish history. Our Lady appeared here at Knock. So among many, many displays, so it's from the beginning, which is telling the story of Knock, right through to such things as the transportation of Ireland of the time, showing the clothing, period clothing of Ireland. There was everything, and I think we have that pretty well covered on the tape. Then we were making our way back. We hadn't seen the main basilica, and there was benediction going on in the basilica, so we stayed for benediction. And then off to get our car, and of course there's hundreds of people there. So there was quite a crash. We had managed to get a very good parking spot, so we got our car out and off we come because we got to get back because we've got an evening commitment. So we make our way back. We're stopping.
We were starving.
We were starving to death by this time because it's now getting on to 5. Must be around 5 o'clock, 5:30 when we left. Must have been, Anyway, we stopped at the first pub closed. The next pub closed. We finally found it. Ballyhowris.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
Yeah. And found a very nice place and went in and had a drink and ordered sandwiches, and that sufficed for the occasion. We were anxious to get back because we went immediately then to Mary Kate's because the Fitzgeralds, who are another part of the family, were expecting us. So as soon as we arrived back, we just had a spot of tea with Mary Kate and Doreen, and so it was decided that Dom and Martin and I would go for this boat ride on the Shannon, because this chap, Gerald Fitzgerald, is a great boatman, and maybe just Dom, talk to him more about, give a nutshell of what his background is.
Well, he obviously comes from some aristocracy, but he started the Cablevision network in Ireland and sold it out to Rogers Cablevision of Canada. And while he didn't mention the figure, it's obvious it was a handsome sum. And so he and his wife, Terry, who was a Hanley, have a summer home at Lava, which is about a half a block from, a long block from Mary Kate's. And next to Gerald and Terry live Terry's two sisters, Anne and Mina, and so who live in Dublin, and so the four of them come up to Lava from Dublin for most weekends. Anyway, right out in front. Well, before you take over, right out in front of Gerald and Terry's home on the River Shannon, they have a dock which was somewhat damaged in a recent windstorm, and he has a sailboat. And Doreen felt that it would be important for us to see the Mary Kate's home and the property from the Shannon. And so on that basis, Gerald agreed to an offer to take us out for a short ride on his boat along the Shannon by the property. And so it was a very, very interesting trip. Anyway.
And this is a boat of some consequence. I would say it was about, what, 30 foot long,
30 feet.
sailing sloop, so it's quite an impressive boat. So we took the little dinghy out to the boat and really got a kind of a feel for the Shannon, which at this point is like a great big lake. It's the whole Shannon is interlaced with these reeds, and these are the reeds that were cut for the for roofing, for the thatch. And when you look at a reed, I mean, they're about 10 feet long. And if you break it off and look at it, you see that it's basically a fairly solid consistency with like little honeycombs, air spaces. So structurally, it's a very, very strong, the reed is strong from the point of view of structure. It is obviously very good from the point of view of insulation. And this was the roofing.
So what did Mary Kate say? Was she telling you or what?
She was telling Bernie, I suppose, about Sonny used to go and cut the reeds, but they always did it in the fall. It was very bum weather, so it was always kind of a risky business being out in the boat in the wind and the waves, cutting this these bundles.
Below the water line.
Yeah, you have to get below the water line. But you'd be able to cut enough of these reeds in a few hours to thatch a house. And that would be a regular thing. I imagine that to be rethatched every year. Or repaired. Thatch has to be repaired every year. So we had this marvelous tour of what is in effect a lake, even though it's the River Shannon. So then we came ashore and repaired to the Fitzgerald home, where now Bernie and Doreen and Mary Kate had gathered, and also the Terry, who is Gerald's wife, and her two sisters, Anne and Mina from Philomena, who are Hanleys. So we met the Hanleys, one of whom was Ted Hanley, the father of Siobhan Hanley. So here's another part of the tribe that we are related to, and I think we're as they would say, we're cousins once removed. We're second cousins to Terry, Ann, and Mina. So we had a most pleasant evening.
So just to explain, so Terry and Ann and Mina are aunts to
Siobhan.
Siobhan.
Right. So it was most, we had a most pleasant evening. 11:15 we broke up, and here we are on the eve of departing from Ireland. Martin, you've got something to add.
Well, the thing that I was impressed with, we've always kind of wondered where we were in the social structure of Ireland. And today we found out that the road, which will be shown on the films of the street going by in front of Mary Kate's, the original road ran up at the top of the hill, and up there, now we found it today.
Now, the top of the hill was the field on the other side of the road from Mary Kate's.
That's right, right.
And some 300 yards or something.
Right. So up there in fact was a castle, the Hanley Castle, or an estate home. So that in fact the Hanleys at that time, and they're talking, seems to me 11th century, so that the Hanleys in fact almost totally populated this area and were of some consequence. So we heard stories of many things about the Hanleys and the history of them, and if we had more time we would research it almost archaeologically, but unfortunately we won't have time to do it. But it's kind of flattering to know that in fact we were of some consequence in this part of the country, and still are on a much smaller scale. So that was a point that kind of made my day when I found that out.
I could add that this road that Martin talks about carried along behind the house where we were visiting this evening, and the present road that we use is just 50 years old. So when Dad was here, he wouldn't have traveled the road we traveled on, but traveled the road 100 or so yards up above the house, where in the famine they used to bring the cart along with the corpses in it, the rattling in the cart, because they neither had the time nor the energy to build caskets. And they passed this house or this area on the way to the cemetery.
July the 16th.
Good morning.
Good morning. 8:52 in the morning.
How are you this morning?
Here's our waitress, Joan.
A bit closer, gotta be a little closer.
Oh, there we go.
See you wave?
Now, why didn't it go longer?
Didn't right. Gotta be a little bit, we're too far away, gotta be a little bit closer when you wave around.
Yeah, she's not happy.
Oh,
so what do you think of that?
It's just a funny thing.
It won't hurt you.
It's not supposed to be scary. Yeah. Well, you don't think it's very funny, do you? Big men aren't supposed to play with toys anyway.
Dark. And you won't
Switch
find
it on for somebody.
It's a weird thing. I just can't go too fast. It kind of starts to go. Arm's not big enough to make
Get there.
Yeah.
Didn't I shut you?
And before that, but there was several years we hadn't summers at all. Judy's.
Can you give us another smile?
Come on. Mary Kate's cat. Oh no. Wait a minute. Where's Mary Kate? Who's all those?
Like all this attention.
Who's all those people? Where's Mary Kate, please? We'll go for Mary Kate. We'll go for Mary Kate, will we?
We'll get Mary
We
Kate.
will. And Betty. And Betty. And Martha. Where's Martha?
Dickies.
Did Martha play with you?
Dickies.
Mousy.
You go and get it then.
Yeah, you just show me where it is and
It's
all
in the
that.
fridge outside.
Okay.
And you get 3 glasses on the... Oh. You're coming
We'll have to get back. Yeah.
before I go.
Mary Kate was worrying about
that.
There's,
I was telling them, you didn't manage to get the card. And I had the card
yes,
from Galway.
that's right.
So she wrote a personal letter to Kathy and Danielle.
Oh, now just scribble on, you know, sheet
So
paper.
we'll give you our blessing now. We'll give you a blessing. Bring. May the blessing of Almighty God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, descend
upon you and remain forever. Amen.
God bless now. It's been a wonderful, wonderful visit. A wonderful visit.
Only too short.
Yeah.
Archer, short-term car parking.
No ticky, no parky. Did you get a ticket, Martin?
So do you want to be over here at arrivals?
Yeah. No, we're
No,
departures.
Departures.
Oh, I see, okay.
Set down.
Yeah, and of course the car rentals from there anyway.
Yeah, if you cover it, hopefully not.
Carol in Sumford to do the meal,
Yes,
didn't you, that night?
We only started, I only got one route up then.
Yes.
Yes.
So Harold doesn't sneak over at night and pinch any of your potatoes, eh?
Harold?
He doesn't sneak over the fence? Harold doesn't sneak over the fence and pinch your potatoes?
I've said it, I'll go and dig a few roots one of these days. She won't know. It wants a good clean now. Two islands, you know, years ago when they got all the cattle, she'd come back after a week with a car and be all cow dung all over it.
That's up on a hillside, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Well, mostly, one, you know, in the old days. down in about 15 minutes, ready.
Done.
Oh, man! You know, that's call a landfill, you know. Died and everything in. You took it out. And you could put a coin on it to roll uphill, you see. It's an optical illusion, really, but...
Yeah. Well, you can certainly make money on a piece of that.
I mean, it doesn't come over sound, does it, Dom?
Oh, yes, it does.
Oh, dear. Nobody will understand me anyway.
We'll tell you're one of the locals.
The man who was selling the raffle thing last night.
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't understand him, could you?
No.
No.
Tom. Well, he hadn't got any teeth in, you see, either.
Is there any profit realised, or is it just the total?
It goes into the
Never in my mind. That's a whole world away.
It's amazing how time comes and goes, though, really, isn't it?
But then there comes a time.
I bet you've been away longer than Dom and...
We're a little worried the place might fall apart.
We're on deck, of course, the moment we set foot. We're ready.
You'll be back into the full stride, I should say, shan't you? Well, you got the wedding, haven't you? You're doing the wedding, are you?
Oh, yeah, but that's a week. But I've got weddings.
Of course, I'm thinking of myself now, because we shan't be there till the Friday, and the wedding's the next day.
But we arrive, and we have weddings. I have weddings on that
first. Snake, didn't he? And he says, I hate those. It's only a garter snake, did Stan call it?
Yeah, garter snake.
Garter snake.
The common variety.
Yeah.
They just...
You'd actually think that you were drunk before you went in, honestly.
But the interesting thing is that there's no cracks, like...
Oh, no.
Brick or, the building held together. Because...
Martin's missing anyway. He's got...
We have to take this picture back and show Carolyn.
Is he rolling?
He certainly is, sunshine. So just no pulling faces, no bad language.
Pressure.
You can open your mouth.
So were you here when Kathy and Mary Joy were here?
Yeah. Yes, I met them only briefly. I saw them.
You went jogging with them the first morning, didn't you? Or,
I don't think we ever went out, did we?
I don't know why, but...
No, we didn't go. But Caroline and I went out a couple of times.
That's great.
A couple of hundred times.
We had a grand time.
Yeah. And, I just did I've already taken a picture of that picture. That's a great picture.
You're taking one without that vase in front of it.
That's okay, but I've already taken it.
Paulie boy, while I think about it, are you committed tomorrow afternoon at all?
I don't think so.
Think you'll be able to go over to Birmingham Airport with us?
I'll tell you what, I'll go and get me diary. No.
Cycling and then put the bike on the back of the car.
Oh, I see.
Lazy cycling. Yeah.
Is it a group?
No, just a boyfriend and herself are going. They've got mountain bikes. It's new. She's got a bright green bike to match her tracksuit.
Well, don't spend much time worrying about what it sounds like. or whether it's in the right order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grammatical.
Back to front,
But it's just that as long as you get the ideas across.
Yeah.
In Canada, people sometimes criticize people speaking French because of the pronunciation or because of the words they use. And it makes a little sense because when we were in France...
Oh, just tell
He
me.
was already inclined to be hairy, and I thought it was Tommy that shaved all his back in him and made it worse.
Well, Cardicals you always had, when you went into the presbytery. No,
yeah.
There's a big sign of silence. And if ever he caught you, even whispering, first thing he'd do, is that you speaking? Straight up.
Right
straight
up
into
there.
your chin. Or what about when you hit on the
They call it child abuse, don't they?
Well, when we used to serve,
man.
we used to stay at the back, you see, at night. And then if nobody turned up, Father Grousey would walk in and he'd look round. No altar boys. Come on, you two. So we said, oh, these couples. So in we go. Well, only. Oh,
No, they haven't met Owen.
Well, he was a character, and he used to say to me, now, whack it up the wine, give him more water.
He was...
Set of 4 in each box, 2 boxes. And they wanted to do something for the parish, so I said, well, why not add something to this China setting, because I couldn't use it just the way it was.
Yeah.
But all I had was the plates. There was no creamer or sugar or that.
Gravy bound.
Yeah. So they bought most of what was provided in the catalogue. Not all of them, but most of the main pieces. And well, I haven't seen it yet because it hasn't arrived. The cost in the Canadian dollar was $800. Well, it's hard for you to compare it, I suppose, because I can't tell you what the pieces were, you know. But
is this where you are?
John Byrne went over and saw him, said that Phil and I were celebrating the Mass at Kilglass, he knew that Father McNamara was saying the Mass at Risky, and without telling us, arranged that we'd come for coffee after Mass. So we had a very nice visit.
Lovely. So these are all the Irishism we're learning. See what he said, come for coffee.
To have 11, 12, between 11 and 16. And you all went, didn't you, when you were around that age? And they used to stay up all night, you know, wonderful, really,
all
the
the
kids
people
were. I didn't like it.
knew it.
Oh, well,
They
I was
used to
only
really appreciate
10,
us.
You were 10.
This morning and away we go.
Now, what would you pay for the campsite, usually?
Oh, in sterling it'd be about $150 a night.
They've got no rooms at the Eagles.
It's only the price of
$3.
It's wonderful.
And are these usually private? The Edmonton Mall?
I think that's
Uranium.
I think that's where the richest.
These are two brothers that have done this.
I think it is Edmonton they went to.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd have seen
They've
them
done,
all, but...
they've done a TV programme
yeah.
over here, and it showed them on top of the highest building, and they said, well, we're going to build this now, build ours, another 500 foot or something, so it must be...
What's the highest building? Is it the Toronto Tower?
CN Tower in Toronto.
We'll have you each sign, and I'll get Bernie to sign that.
Most of these pictures are just going from one. Just hold that up. There's a picture over that side.
Ah. That's the later age?
Having his pint of. What is it this time?
I'm actually just drinking beer this time.
Hi, how you doing, Roy?
Good, we've just been down to the shopping centre.
Mary Hill?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, it's quite
Had a pint.
One incident where me and Tom were actually in the car together, and I had my hand on the armrest.
This is where she sent him off.
We could have that sort of partnership, and then obviously a year later we could have children. We could open another business for him, but I'm not pushy.
Well, Tom, you look absolutely gobsmacked.
To say the least.
To say the least. How do you feel about our Libby here? You did say she was a bit forward, didn't you?
I just wondered if we went on the same date. She's a tremendous girl, but I didn't realise she was...
I know someone, and the crash last week with British Air, all the girls could stop to kiss the Blarney Stone. And he said, oh, I'm sorry, we can't do that, but if you kiss someone that's kissed the Blarney Stone, then that's...
Just as good. Yes, just as good.
Yes.
So, wait, I want...
So,
what happened?
I said to him, oh, so you've kissed the Blarney Stone. would you like me, are you after a kiss? I thought, you know, you're always after a kiss. He said, no, I didn't say I'd kissed the Blarney Stone, I sat on it.
Harold?
Yes?
So, a little something now to express our appreciation. If you read the card first.
What have you done this for?
What have you been doing? Don't you think you've done enough for us in the past and...
Not a toaster. I've always wanted a toaster.
Thank you very much anyway.
I only said to Martin the other morning, it's the thing I've never had in my life.
So, thank you very, very much.
We love you.
Thank you very, very much.
Graced the scene with your presence. Are you nearly ready?
So all the rest of the Hanleys have to see what Paul looks like. So when he comes knocking on our door, they'll
You'll know who
him.
he is. Look what she's out on there.
That is good.
What she's out here, Paul. Thank God they're going.